Hey guys, it's me, Mr. 250, and welcome back to Umineko. The last thing we had was Maria freaking out about a rose, and she's like, it's supposed to be there, and it's not, and stuff, and I got tired of it, and then now we're back at Kinzo, and we're missing a line because the game does this for some reason. But basically, we're with Kinzo now, and he's noticing the rain. It seemed to be pouring down thickly. It had begun to rain later than the weather reporter predicted. Kinzo, as if being summoned by the sound of rain, approached the window. The sound of rain is the sound of silence. That sound feels quieter than any silence, and makes humans remember that, in the end, they are alone from when they are born to when they die. Wow, that is kind of grim. I was thinking more along the lines of it sounds like really peaceful, not that you are alone from when you are born to when you die. Okay, I guess you can interpret it as you wish. Maybe Beatrice doesn't actually want to see you. Were those words directed at the rainy sky? No one could be seen in the direction of Kinzo's gaze. Uh-oh. Uh-oh.
客に使用人たちどれでも好きなだけ食らうがいい運命の鍵は悪魔のルーレットに従い生贄を選ぶであろうそのルーレットが私を選ぶならば私すらもお前の生贄となろうだがだからこそなのだそれだけの狂気をかけるからこそ私は必ずや偉大な奇跡を起こすだろうさあ好きなだけ食らうがいい私はそのルーレットに打ち勝つだろう
So basically, once again, to amplify the magic, he's putting his own life on the line, which is probably a pretty good amplifier for bets and stuff like that. Hold on 1 second, I realized I left my water bottle over by the TV, hold on. Sorry about that, I can't do visual novels without my water bottle. I get really thirsty.
さあ、全てを落とすぞ。まずは後ろ宮家の家督を返そう。受け取るがいい。
As Kinzo violently opened the window, he ripped off a gold ring stuck to his finger and forcefully threw it away. At that time, thunder resounded, giving the illusion that the lightning had accepted his ring.
そして、お前が蘇った時、そこにいるのは私であるだろう。私が最後まで生き残り、お前の目覚めを見守るだろう。さあ来たれベアトリーチェようこそ我が宴私が生み出した全てと引き換えに私にもう一度だけ奇跡を見せておくれおー
Oh gosh, he's gonna do it again. Things are definitely ramping up. Maria's freaking out. Kinzo's kind of doing his usual thing, though he openly admits that he's using his family as a sacrifice. Mildly creepy, I'd have to say. I can never tell when I'm supposed to advance it and when it's advancing itself. A new sticker popped up on the top of the TV program we were watching. The disaster report told how municipalities all over were continually sending out rain, flood, and wave warnings. And you're stuck on a nearly deserted island. Good. Well, I don't know if I'd say deserted, just unpopulated. Of course, the harshly beating raindrops on the window were much more convincing.
すっげえ降りだな。でもこれだけ盛大だとすぐにやみそうな気もするけどな。
That's true.
そりゃ雨ぜ。台風の速度が遅いそうだから、下手すりゃ明日も丸一日こんな調子らしいぜ。ちょっとの天気でも船は欠航するもんだしよ。
やっぱり日曜日のうちには引き上げられない。
Oh no. I guess we might get stuck here for an extra day.
念のため月曜日に外部とのスケジュールを入れ
I'm
なく
pretty
て
sure you're
正
gonna
解だ
want
っ
to
た
clear
よ。
more business than that if you're gonna be sacrificed.
ってことは月曜の学校はサボれそうだな。
Battler knows what's up.
島生活ってのも悪くないもんだぜ。そういや、ジェシカは登校って毎日船で通ってるわけだろ。船が欠航したら学校はどうなるんだ？カメハメハ大王並みに雨が降ったらお休みで風が吹いたら遅刻してか。
船が出なきゃ休みになるぜ。もっともそう甘くはねえけどな。大抵その代わり
You
に
have to do
実習が
makeup
指示
work.
されて、
Yeah.
後でかっちりと見られるから。
I'm
そう
sure
そう
that's
嫌い
probably
なもん
worse
さ。
than school, actually.
例えば梅雨なんかの長く天気が崩れる時期だと数日間くらい登校できないこともあるんじゃねえのか？
そういうこともあるぜ。でも毎日きっちり担任から電話がかかってきて、どう自習しろ、何を提出しろと酸っぱく指導されるけどな。
バトラ君が考えてるほど簡単にはサボれないよ。船で通う人たちのルールに従ってしっかり勉強をしているよ。
むしろ登校できた方が気楽だぜ。自分の部屋じゃ気が散るし、集中もできねえしな。それでいて問題集ばっかり数日もやらされてると、かなり精神的に応えるもんがあるぜ。大学の時にはよ、寮のあるところに入ってさっさとこんな不便な島はおさらばしたいもんだぜ。
へえ。じゃあよ、ちなみに行きは天気が良くても帰りは悪くて欠航ってなったらどうすんだ？学校に泊まるのか？
そういうのはよくあることだぜ。だから帰島できない人用の宿泊所があってよ。
What?
そこ
Oh,
に寝泊まりするんだよ。
I see, because there's a bunch of different islands around here. Okay,
下
that
手
makes
すりゃ
sense.
数日間家に帰れないこともあったりするぜ。
乗車率が 200% を超えるような満員電車で毎日通勤通学しなければならない人から見てみると、船の通学なんて趣があって良さそうだななんて無責任に思っちゃうけど、やっぱりいろいろと苦労があるんだね。
よく無神経な観光客がそういうこと言ってるぜ。私は島の生活なんてもうお腹いっぱいだね。早く高校出てこんな島とはおさらばしたいぜ。
高校にだって全寮制のところとかあったろうよ。なんでわざわざ新島の学校を選んだんだよ。
私は最初からそれを希望してたぜ。でもおふくろがよ、当主跡継ぎとしての修行やらマナーやらがうんぬんってうるさくて
Your
よ。
mom's also mildly crazy and annoying.
結局高校も地元になっちまったのさ。はあ、こんな島はごめんだぜ。早く都会で生活したいよ。雨が降ろうが槍が降ろうが、ラフな格好でサンダルを履けば5分足らずでコンビニに行けるような都会に引っ越したいぜ。
もう少しの辛抱だよ。高校卒業まであとちょっとでしょ。
そのちょっとも我慢できねえぜ。
Jessica stretched out and reclined in the sofa. I think you mean on the sofa. Okay, whatever. Maybe because now was a bad time slot, there weren't any interesting programs on. And we had nothing to do but languidly kill time until we were called for dinner. Maria had so far not returned to the cousin's room. She had probably been brought back to the mansion by Aunt Rosa. It had to be pretty boring for Maria, all by herself while the adults are having a confusing conversation. We thought we might head over to the mansion to see her, but after all, there was this lousy weather, and there wasn't much time until dinner, so we stayed where we were. At that time, we heard the sound of a humble knock. Jessica answered.
お食事の準備が整いました。お屋敷へお越しください。
It was Canon Kun's voice. Had he gone to all the trouble of coming from the mansion in this rain just to call us over? Couldn't he have just called us on the telephone? Oh well, maybe sometimes part of a servant's duty is to go against common sense.
なんとなくお腹が空いてきた頃だったしね。行こうか。
George Aniki turned off the television and stood up.
俺はとっくにペコペコ。本家の晩餐は毎回凝ってるしな。それに郷田さん、子牛のステーキとか言ってなかったっけ？たまらねえぜ。
親族会議の日は特に豪華になるしな。私だって楽しみだぜ。行こう行こう。
As we left the room, Canon Kun bowed silently and respectfully.
じゃ
How
あ
did you not get wet at all? You have like a ginormous umbrella?
外の振りはだいぶひどいだろう。
Oh, don't worry, we can go through the underground tunnel or something.
お召し物を濡らさぬよう十分ご注意ください。
After seeing the three of us out, Canon Kun peered into the empty room.
マリアス様はいらっしゃいませんか？
一緒じゃないぜ。ローザおばさんと一緒じゃないのかよ。
Uh-oh. She's still out there looking for that stupid flower, isn't she? It's part of a servant's duties to not let rain get wet on you. Rosa, lying on the sofa in an empty parlor, had fallen asleep at some point. She was bearing a burden on her shoulders that a child could never even imagine. Therefore, when she let herself relax, that exhaustion quickly led Rosa into the world of sleep. Realizing this, Genji brought a blanket over to her. When he tried to spread it over, her eyes had been shocked open as though she had been shocked with electricity. Snapped open.
ありがとう。源氏さんなのね。
When she realized that the thing had touched her was just a blanket, and that Genji had been considerately giving it to her, she let out a sigh of relief.
起こしてしまいました。
I'm gonna beat you up, Genji. Did I...
失礼いたしました。
いえ、いいの。寝るつもりじゃなかったから。今は何時なの？
When he was asked for the time, Genji checked a pocket watch that he took out of his chest pocket.
6時を少し過ぎたところです。
Rosa gave her head a slight shake, as she realized that, even though she felt like she had slept for a long time, not much time had actually passed. Even though she didn't feel rested at all, the drowsiness that wrapped around her felt very deep.
ありがとう。毛布は結構よ。変な時間に眠っちゃダメね。すっかり時間の感覚が狂っちゃったわ。雨、とうとう降り出したのね。
Rosa finally realized that the peaceful sound that had put her to sleep was actually the rain that had started falling.
風もだいぶ出てるよね。いよいよ台風なのかしら。
そのようにテレビでは申しております。遅い台風だそうで、明日いっぱいはこんな調子だそうです。
そう。この素敵なバラ庭園も日中のあれが見納めだったのね。
From the window, what she could see of the rose garden was completely blurred by the wind and the rain.
マリア。そうだ。マリアは？
私はお見かけしておりません。
Uh-oh.
ゲストハウスにお戻りではないでしょうか。
Oh, this is gonna be fun. Rosa knew her daughter's nature well. She'd always known Maria was stubbornly honest, and if she was ordered to find something that didn't exist, she would look forever and ever. Even if rain was pouring down.
違うわ。いとこの子たちは先に行ってしまったから、あそこにはマリア一人。あの子は誰かにもうやめろと言われない限り、たとえや
This
りたい
thing
こ
with
と
the
こようと
spears
あそこに
again,
続
what
け
the
るわ。
heck? Everyone thinks about spears.
傘もささずに。私は感情に任せて何
Even though she had known that simple honesty better than anyone, she once again lost control of her emotions and done such a horrible thing. Rosa pushed Genji away and ran down the hallway. I mean, it might be prudent to get, like, a rain jacket or something. Okay. The outside really looked like a typhoon, and was pouring down magnificently. Maybe because of some figure of the terrain, the winds were not as strong as a typhoon, so an umbrella wouldn't be torn out of one's hands. Even so, it sure was a windy rain. There was no time to admire the roses being soaked by the rain.
とりあえず今はマリアが気になるぜ。まさかあの後もずっと
She
一人で
probably
へそ曲げ
is,
て
and then I bet something
あそこで
happened to
バー
her.
探しをしてるなんてことはないよな。
Something spooky and possibly supernatural.
そうだね。さすがにこの雨じゃと思いたいところだけど、マリアちゃんはたまにすごく頑固でものすごく愚直な時がある。
We hadn't worried much, thinking that Aunt Rosa had taken her back to the mansion. However, when Canon-kun had come from the mansion to call us and thought that Maria was here, we got a little worried.
お屋敷ではお見かけしませんでしたので、てっきりこちらにおられるとばかり。ローザ様は仮眠を取られておいででしたので。
ここに来る途中に見かけなかったのかよ。
I was too busy deflecting the rain bullets with my hand.
申し訳ございません。傘を差し、
Oh, never
急
mind.
ぎ駆け
Umbrella.
抜けたもので、そこまでの注意を払いませんでした。
If he had cut through the rose garden on the shortest line between the mansion and the guest house, then he would have missed the place where Maria had been looking for a rose by a little. Or if he'd cut the... yeah. And it was raining this hard too. There was a good chance that Canon-kun had failed to notice her.
ここ
Notice
で
me,
議論するより
senpai.
直接確かめる方が早いさ。兄貴、ちょいとかけっこと行こうじゃねえかよ。
6年成長したから僕に勝てるつもりかい？よし、決着をつけようじゃないか。行こう。
George Aniki and I flew out into the rain. Jessica and Canon-kun followed us. Uh-oh.
ローザおばさんだ。おばさん。
When George Aniki called back, Aunt Rosa jumped as though someone had grabbed her.
マリアはどこ？ジョージ君たちと一緒じゃないの？
いえ、僕たちはあの後マリアちゃんには出会ってません。
6 years ago, Maria had been 3 years old. She had been a cute and pure kid who would just accept what anyone said. But 6 years had passed since then. She was 9 now, and experiencing the good and bad parts of life should have taught her something. And yet, she's still just as innocent and pure as she used to be?
マリア
As I circled the rose bed, something white unexpectedly turned to face me. It was a white umbrella. Maria, holding a white umbrella, was crouching, still searching for that rose. Her face, which had turned bright red from her crying her eyes out, was dirtied with water and mud. It was a truly pitiful sight.
お前まだ探してたのか。
見つからない。マリアのバラ見つからない。
Maria had probably been here since the rain had started pouring down. It looked like her shoulders were freezing. She looked tired to the bone, but fortunately, since she was holding an umbrella, she wasn't completely soaked. Her mom's gonna be mad about getting her shoes wet. It was probably an umbrella from the handbag that Maria was always walking around with. Thank goodness. Seriously, thank goodness.
バトラ君、よかった。見つけたんだね。
Maria, you got my good clothes wet. You're never going out to play with roses again. Aunt Rosa threw her umbrella away and hugged Maria.
ない。
Yes, it's not there, Maria.
マリアの柄がない。
後でママも一緒に探してあげるから。ね。だから今日はお預けにしなさい。
It looked like Maria still wasn't able to accept it, but she no longer had enough energy left to resist. Jessica and Cannon-kun caught up with us.
すぐにお屋敷でタオルの用意をさせましょう。
マリア。
I just imagine him just sitting there, like, karate chopping all of the water, trying to deflect it from
ずっとこ
himself.
こにいたのか。
ごめんね。本当に悪いママね。ごめんね。
ローザおばさん、とりあえずお屋敷に行きましょう。このままじゃマリアちゃん風邪をひいちゃう。
そうね。マリア、行きましょう。ちゃんときれいにしないとおじい様に怒られちゃうわよ。
お腹すいた。もう食事の時間だぜ。マリアはよく頑張ったよ。天気が良くなったら私たちも一緒に探してやるから。
We couldn't stay in the rain forever. We took Maria with us as we headed back to the mansion. Maria apparently wasn't as weak as I had thought. When she remembered that dinner was calf steak, she started chanting, I'm hungry, ooh, ooh, and returned to her usual healthy self. Aunt Rosa didn't chide Maria on her ooh.
そっか、傘を持っていたのか。さすがマリアは物持ちがいいぜ。マリア、傘なんか持ってない。
Uh-oh.
なんだよ。じゃあその手に持ってる白い傘はどうしたんだよ。
貸してもらった。
It seemed that some caring person had somehow brought her an umbrella. A normal girl would look for shelter once it started raining, but there was no way that stubborn Maria would lose heart and do something like that. So, maybe that person gave up recommending that she find shelter, and at least had her take an umbrella.
そう、その人にお礼を言わないとね。誰？
Oh no. The name that Maria mentioned was very happily that of the island's witch. Rosa took a deep breath and asked again, while trying to avoid hurting Maria's feelings now that she was happy.
そう、よかったわね。それで誰なの？
That's nice, so who was it?
傘を持ってきてくれた人は。
I said it was Beatrice. Maria, who quickly picked up that her mother didn't believe her, made an angry face once again. So Rosa stopped pursuing the subject. It looked like it would be faster to ask the person who had lent Maria the umbrella during dinner, rather than ask Maria herself. Yeah, just a bit. That was a wild ride.
お父さん、
Hey, do you have like 1,000 towels? Because there's an entire group of people that are probably soaked right now.
せめて晩餐にだけは出席してください。
Go
これ
away!
では親族会議になりませ
I
ん。
don't wanna! Along with the dull pounding on the door, the sound of crosses and entreaty could be heard. However, that voice seemed to be giving up since its sound wasn't reaching its intended ears.
金蔵さん、せめて夕食くらいは出んかね。
I don't
あんたの
wanna!
顔を見ようと、息子さんたちが集まってきてるんじゃないか。
黙れ南條。ビショップが聞かぬか。言って足りぬ。
Apparently, Kinzo was completely focused on the final battle of his long-lasting chess match with Nanjo. Kinzo's brow was wrinkled as he continued to glare at the game board through his spectacles. Cross's voice didn't reach his ears.
金蔵さん、私も腹が減った。下に降りて食事をせんか。
ならばお前だけで行くといい。
You plebeians and eating food, I don't like you all.
私はもうしばらくこの一手を
I bet he's gonna cheat while you're gone. You better be careful. He's gonna cheat. He's gonna move your piece.
今夜で決着をつけてやる。さもなくばお前との決着は金輪際つけられそうにないからな。
Nanjo stood from his seat, hoping this would prompt Kinzo to do the same, but Kinzo's eyes never left the chessboard. He knew well that Kinzo always displayed a blind concentration when it came to chess. But he had never seen Kinzo as concentrated as he was now. It was almost as though, as Kinzo had said, if the game wasn't finished tonight, there would never be another chance for them to continue their contest, or something like that. You know, I bet Nanjo probably interprets that as Kinzo thinks he's going to die tonight. It looked like even if he called out obstinately, it wouldn't reach Kinzo's heart. Nanjo gave up and headed to the door that Cross was still banging on. The door to the study opened. With, like, the door opening sound that sounds an awful lot like a film reel. Cross was taken aback, thinking that maybe Kinzo was actually coming out.
南條先生、親父殿は
Yeah, he's not coming.
お役に立てなくて申し訳ございませんが、今や金蔵さんの世界はこの部屋だけです。
Nanjo shook his head with a completely defeated expression. Cross raised his fist once more, and banged on the door shouting,
お父さん、聞こえますか？私たちは下へおりますが、気が向かれたらいつでもおいでください。息子兄弟一同、ずっとお待ちしておりますよ。
The voice was very loud, and the door was being noisily pounded on. There was no way that it wouldn't reach Kinzo's ears. It was reaching him. However, he ignored it anyway. However, unlike the time he was being called down for lunch, he did not get into a rage. Kinzo was now simply calm at heart. It was almost as though he had gained a far-sightedness by turning himself over to fate.
晩餐にも息子たちの顔にも興味はない。
Oh, don't be like that.
私がここを出るのはベアトリーチが
Look, we can make you a ham sandwich if you want. It's okay. Come on,
私
buddy.
が鍵の生贄に選ばれた時だけだ。もう悪魔のルーレットは回っている。今さら晩餐に何の意味があろう。
I wouldn't turn down dinner for the demon's roulette. Acting as though the painfully loud banging on the door completely failed to enter his hearing. And still, in his philosophic state, Kinzo silently thought about his next chess move. And we're going to stop it there. I'm going to do a few more tonight, but we obviously need to take a break, as usual, and I think I'm going to spread these out a bit. Because I want these to play over while I'm going to be gone. I'm not going to spread them out too far, maybe just a day apart apiece, but I'm going to do a couple of these and have them play while I'm gone. Well, maybe I'll do this first one. I'll do this first one tonight, but then the rest of them I'll do them before I'm gone, because I'm going to be leaving, or I'm going to be busy for about 2 weeks with some company that's over. Anyway, I hope you guys enjoyed, and I'll see you guys next time. Bye!